Well, a warm welcome to, well, it's our first one really of a 22-23 season, Podful of Saints. We had one with Ian Ridley a few weeks ago, but that was just an interview. So this is the first one where we're talking about football with myself, David Tavener, over there. I think he's got his head on the right way round. Jake Ellacott.
Hello, Dave. Hello, everyone. Hope you're well.
And somewhere over there, hiding behind a refreshing drink, is Lee Wood.
What a marvellous start that was. Hello, Dave. Hello, Jake. How you doing, boys?
Start as we mean to go on. We're well, I think, Lee. And you both looked well last night at Harpenden Town. We're recording this on Wednesday, the 13th of July, 2022. We look back at the Harpenden game and a few other things as well. We're going to kick off by looking at the squad, because obviously that's what people are most interested in during the summer, apart from going to Greece for a nice holiday. Right, the players that have left. Elkie O'Bany, Bailey Brown, Dave Dijou, Johnny Goddard. Any disappointments there?
Ooh. Oh, Goddard, isn't it? It's got to be. I think that I appreciate the reason why it's happened, but even on his worst day, being played out of position, he's head and shoulders above what we had towards the latter half of last year. Magnificent on the ball, hard working off of it, and he's going to be a massive, massive miss. That said, I think Ian has quite astutely identified the need, which is in the middle of the park, and as such, I think he's looking at the players he's brought in, he's changed the system accordingly to make us a bit more hard to beat. But yes, to answer your question, Dave, Goddard, massive, massive loss for us.
Funny, I agree with you, Ed, to a degree, Lee. But all right, what his best position was, I don't think we ever really found out. And I think he will be a loss. But I also didn't think he was at his best in the second half of the season. And I thought he was one of the reasons why we went off a boil. We were looking for him to give us that lift in games. And sadly, it wasn't happening. We know he got the ability. He's a good player. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I can only echo what Lee said. I think, that second half of the season, I think everyone went off the board, didn't they? For whatever reasons, I don't think we'll ever fully know. But it happened. And I think, Johnny Goddard is going to be a big loss. I don't know if we've directly replaced him. I think Ian's probably going to change the system this season and the formation. But I think he is a big loss. Of course he is. He was a quality player. And I think we'll probably especially miss his set pieces. They weren't great all the time, but compared to previous seasons, I think the set pieces were a step up in quality, because we haven't had a good set piece taker, in my opinion, for quite a long time as a club. And Ian mentioned that last night. Actually.
Which is disgraceful, I hasten to add, for a club at this level. Is absolutely shambolic to have a person that can take a decent corner. And he's taken the one person that we can, and he's now gone. So someone's got to step up to the plate somewhere along the line, boys.
Oh, I'm going out of line again here. And I thought second half of this season, his free kicks and corners were poor. They were not up to what you would expect from him. And I think that's one of the reasons why we created so little from set pieces.
But I think what Jake and I are trying to get at, it was very much the best of a bad bunch. And
yeah,
what I'm saying, that on his day, without doubt, one of the best midfielders in the entire league. You can see why he's played football league, and he can quite easily grace the level above. But as we said, when the whole team was playing poorly, I thought he was still the one that showed a little bit of impetus, a little bit of skill. And again, I reiterate, a massive, massive loss for us. But I think the way Ian's now set himself up for us to be harder to beat, I don't think it's going to be an immediate loss in terms of the way we play the game.
Well, 7 goals in 47 games for us last season. And he's gone from being a Saint to a rebel. We will see him next season when he's at Slough Town.
Yeah.
He'll score then. He'll score.
Dave Dijou, a good squad player, the sort of player you need around the squad. But gone back to Hendon. Was his time up, do you think?
I think so. I think, Dave gave some really good service to us, but I say I think it's time he's looking for his coaching badges, isn't he, at Hendon, really? I think, we'll always have some good moments, especially that tackle in the Forest Green game in the Cup in the last 5 minutes. He'll always be a semi-legend for that, I'd say. But I think the only thing we'll miss from him is we don't have many players in the squad that are good players that can almost cover any position in the back four and the sort of the defensive midfield. I mean, Big Dave, if he had to, he could. He wouldn't always be necessarily perfect at every position, but he could do it. And I just wonder, if we get injuries, if we get issues, we might miss a utility player like that. But I think, I think it's a good move for everyone, really.
Right. Bailey Brown, we didn't see an awful lot of him. 23 games, 6'5". I don't know why we brought him in. I'm not being rotten to him, but was he ever what we needed? He's got a good pedigree. He's Dad, of course, Derek Brown played for England non-league side. Nothing else, Bailey. He did a decent job, but I don't think he strengthened us an awful lot without being rotten to him.
We saw a lot of him because the geezer was an absolute mountain, but just not enough of it in terms of productivity on the green. Listen, I think he was on a hiding to nothing because everyone wanted to see David Noble in there, and then he's not in the same calibre as Nobby. That said, he did a job and he did it to his best of his ability. And I'm not going to, slam the man for not being the player that we want him to be. So as far as I'm concerned, he put in a good shift. But yeah, absolutely right. We shift him on.
And we remember that goal at Hungerford with joy. Fine strike. The other one, Alkio Banny. Well, we only saw him for 3 games at the start of the season. He spent the rest of it with Wingate and Finchley. The stats man down at Aldershot said he was down there for a trial last week, and they quite liked him. So good luck to him, and good luck to all of those who moved on during the summer. Interesting, it doesn't look like we went back to either of the loan players we had in the second half of last season, Cameron Green or Evan Jones. Any surprises there?
Not for me, Jay. I mean, go on, mate, go on.
No, I said exactly the same. Not particularly. I think, Evan Jones left early, didn't he? Got recalled. And Cameron Green, I know Cameron got released by Wrexham a few weeks ago. No real surprise with the money they're spending this summer again. But I think Ian's been very clear that, he's brought in Tafari Moore instead, and Devontae Stanley is coming back to fitness. I think neither of them impressed Ian. I don't think either of them really lived up to what we expected. So no real surprise there.
Doesn't mean that they're bad players though, mate. I mean, you don't get to sort of play that level, without having some qualities. I would say, I think they were brought in on the pretense they were going to strengthen a very struggling side. And I think they had a very rude awakening. But that wasn't their fault. Again, I'm not saying they're bad players, but again, I think it's absolutely right that they move on.
Over 2, I thought Cameron Green was the most impressive. But when Alex Lancashire returned to the side at left back towards the end of the last season, you did wonder why we'd brought in Green at all, to be honest.
But that's what Alex needed, though, Taz, as well, don't forget, because I think that Alex got found out a little bit towards the middle of the season. I think maybe having someone, a little bit of competition for places, gave him that hunger again. And Alex is young, and to play a whole season the way in the tempo in which he did was fantastic anyway. So I think that actually helped Alex personally.
Very good point, Lee. We're over at Harpenden Town last night to see City come from behind to win 2-1. A couple of 3 of the new boys were there. Chris Paul, Tafari Moore, and a guy called Munoz Sundir. Good to have him back, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Monash is probably, out of the 3 of those or 4 signings we've made this summer, I think probably the best on paper anyway. I think he always impressed me during the spell he had with us. And hopefully that season in the National League has helped him kick on. I think he was really highly rated.
Is it when he got spanked every single week, like 4-0 or whatever it was?
Exactly. So. But I think we've commented before, haven't we, how physical the National League is. Literally just physical, battling in midfield every week. And I think that will hopefully have improved him on that side of things, because let's be honest, a physical midfielder we were crying out for last season, weren't we? Someone to complement Kyron Wiltshire and David Noble, etc. So I think Monash will be the best out of those sort of 3 central midfielders that we've brought in, and we'll see how the other 2 play.
How physical do you want Kyron Wiltshire? 16 bookings, club record.
He got an award for that, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, nonsense. Yes. Right, the other new players, right side of midfield, Chris Paul played last night. He's from Hempstead. Are they still going? And Tafari Moore, Hendon right back. We saw them last night. You can't really judge him on one game at Harpenden, can you?
No, but it keeps the run of signing a player from Hendon every summer, doesn't it? That's a good thing. Our youth progress route's working well there.
Can we please look? Let's just call them St Albans City B. Let's just use their proper title and be done with it.
I mean, to be fair, we've spoken to a few people, haven't we? And Tafari Moore's pretty highly rated in non-league, and I think a few people are quite surprised he dropped down to Hendon's level. So I think he could be a decent signing, especially potentially on the left. If Devontae Stanley goes back to right back, Tafari Moore could go left. I believe he could play both sides. So we'll see. I think Ches Isaac, he's experienced this level, even though he didn't play last night. he should be good. I think a few question marks over Chris Paul. Speaking to people at Hemel, apparently his injury record wasn't the best. I don't know myself, but we'll see. But on paper, all 4 signings for me, like Lee said at the start, they've strengthened areas that needed strengthening.
It would have been nice though if they sort of strengthened them 6 months ago when we actually, needed it. What I would say about, they've obviously identified a need, and Isaacs, I think, could be a dark horse here because he brings that experience. And whilst not necessarily an upgrade on Nobby, but Nobby's now, his legs have gone, his head and his heart are very much still there. So maybe that's just that middle ground that we needed. And as you say, the likes of Paul as well and Asun Dyer, they could be instrumental for us going forward.
Chris Isaac's 29, Moore and Sunday are 25, and Paul 24. So there's quite a bit of experience amongst those 4.
I think, like Lee said, it's what we need, isn't it? Really, it's fundamentals. We need players that are either experienced at this level or have experience of playing a lot of football. And I think last season in the middle, once David Noble got injured, I don't think we had that, did we? Really? So it's exactly what we need, and hopefully it works out. It is good, Ian did mention at the end of last season he's looking at players that were experienced at this level, the level above, and that has happened. And I just hope that it hasn't all gone in midfield, and we're going to regret not maybe bringing someone in at centre half potentially of similar caliber.
What I would say is, sorry, Dave, is the fact that I think Tafari Moore could be pivotal for us. The fact he started both of the halves last night is quite telling. Devontae is no doubt an athlete. We've spoken to him on the terraces many times, Jake, and he's obviously a man of faith as well. And there's no doubt that he's going to be in great physical shape. My concern about Devontae is the emotional scars left by what he's had to sort of go through. Where will his head be when he has to go in for that first collision, that first 50-50 tackle, that first hit? Because I don't know, I don't care who you are, to have that sort of injury happen to you is going to leave something mentally. So I think where Moore fits into that position, I think they're going to give Devontae a little bit more time. And if he comes back sooner, great, because he's a fantastic player. But I think to have that balance there as well is going to be great for us.
One name that's been mentioned a couple of times already, David Noble, not the youngest player at the club. He came on as a sub at Harpenden Town last night. He hasn't signed yet, as far as we're aware. Should we keep him on?
Well, speaking to Neil, and then I think Neil put up an article earlier today, sort of suggesting that David Noble will sign, but more of a coaching role, which he'd already started, let's be honest, last season for a lot of it. So it sounds like it's going to be a bit of a coaching role for Nobby, and sort of, I get the impression he's going to be on forms in case of emergencies, basically. But I was quite surprised actually to see him come on last night. I thought, that it's good to have his experience, isn't it, around the squad, and those younger players, they can learn a hell of a lot from him.
Well, he came on, his first pass, the ball went off.
That's the standard we're looking for, Dave.
Hitting it just. Right, the other player who been with us quite well now, 250 games under his belt, Tom Bender. He was there last night, but also hasn't signed. What are your thoughts on him?
I mean,
I think the silence is golden there. I can't see him playing for us again unless he comes back on reduced terms or some sort of coaching partnership thing similar to what Nobby's on now. I think Ian has been religiously loyal to his players, but I think there comes a time when there's got to be an appreciation that it's just not what you wanted. And I think that time has now come for Tom, sadly, because he's a fantastic fella. He's got a wonderful family. His dad is so appreciative of everything that the club have done for his son. And Tom Bender, he does polarize people, very much similarly to what Ben Martin did in the latter season of his career with us. But you can't question his heart. You can't question his application. Committed, sometimes stupidly so, but heart definitely in the right place. And he only wanted the very, very best for St Albans City Football Club. And if he does go, he goes with all of our well wishes. Well, most of us, maybe not loons, but yeah, most of us.
I think he does. His commitment to the club's been excellent down the years. There's no two ways about that. But he does struggle a bit now. He hasn't got the speed to play left back anymore. I think centre of defence is better position. But like you, I think maybe his time has come at this level. He may prove us wrong. He might have a good pre-season, find his form and whatnot. But I think the odds are against it at the moment. He's only 29. He's got a few good years left in him.
Yeah.
Hendon?
Wouldn't rule it
Go
out.
the other way.
I mean, I think it's interesting, again, reading Neil's piece. Ian sort of says that he's probably short of a defender in the squad, but that, he's still talking to Tom. So I wonder if, like Lee says, if they might try and get Tom on reduced wages or on some sort of coaching deal, etc., or even sort of shared dual registration with another club. Could be possible, I suppose. But I think the only thing I'd say to Ian, or sort of ask him, is, if we're short of a defender, is Tom Bender the answer to the defender question for me? No, I think you need a fresh face there, someone a bit more command. Well, Tom is, of course, commanding, but someone like you said, Dave, he's got the legs. He knows how to play at the back at this level. And I think if there's an opening there, why not look at freshening it up instead of sticking with a player who maybe didn't quite play to what they have previously over the last couple of seasons?
Most amazing thing there, Jake, was a suggestion by you that Neil Metcalf wrote an interesting article. Since we were last talking, not Neil, Sean Jeffers has re-signed for another year. I think everyone at the end of last season would have been extremely surprised by that. All us three as well, I would have thought.
Yeah,
He played it well, didn't he? He handled it extremely, extremely well. He knew he was in demand. We know he's been speaking to other clubs, and his demands were even too rich for Hemmel's blood. So, and although the fact it may seem that we've got him at a default because no one else wanted him, the fact we got him on like a 2-year deal was the contract king for the whole thing, wasn't it? I don't mind he's here. I don't care whether he really wanted to be here in the first place, but he's here now and he's committed. We know that. Big fish in a small pond, and hopefully for 2 years we're going to get even better out of him.
Another thing, him staying, maybe not so much other clubs not wanting him, because I'm sure a lot of clubs would have wanted him, but maybe we come up with terms which they couldn't match in the end, which would be unusual for us, it must be said, in the current scheme of things. But also maybe that has stretched Ian's budget to the limit, and why we're seeing relatively little action in the transfer market so far.
I think that's definitely very possible. I think the terms are important. I think Lee hinted at there that 2 years. I don't think there would have been many clubs offering a striker 2 years at his age, even though he is a very good goal scorer. We have to remember that before he came to City, his record was a bit patchy at times. And I think, a lot of fans were a bit doubtful as to whether he'd really step up, because he had big boots to fill in Joe Ciofano, another goal scorer.
He had tiny boots, mate. He was like 5.
Yeah, exactly. But, Sean has done that. But his record isn't amazing. So I think Sean will be very happy with a 2-year deal. We know that the club's pretty easy for him to commute to, etc. But yeah, it's interesting budget-wise how much it's taken out. I'm sure they've had to increase it for Sean, because otherwise,
we were told, though, Jake, that we were told that the money's there. We were told that the fans for him. We were all there. The money's there, to invest and improve the squad. And by signing Sean Jeffers to a 2-year deal, that improves the squad. Yes. What I would say is that he needs support. Okay, Joe Neal got 2 goals last night against.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Sorry,
no.
But sorry.
He had a couple of shots.
Did they go in? No. But he needs help. He needs help. He can't do it. The fact he's now taken away Goddard out of the equation, you've got a limited service there. And okay, he looked okay last night, along with anyone, but he's just getting back into stride of things as well. But he can't do it all by himself. And the fact of the matter is that needs to be the next level, the next need that we need to address is get a striker to complement Jeffers, because he gets isolated too easy sometimes. But again, he's a class player, and the fact he's with us now is going to be good, hopefully.
Well, Joe Neal last season, where was it we got him from? Biggleswade Town, wasn't it? 16 games, no goals. And unfortunately, because he didn't get those goals, his form did deteriorate as the season went on. No two ways about it. But there is something about him. And Ian Allinson, I bumped into him during the summer. He does like him. And you can see why. There are things about his game. He got that very well taken goal in the friendly against Dagenham, which of course means nothing in the grander schemes of things. But at 0-16, when you got Mitchell Weiss as well, last season, he's got 6 in 50, he got 6 in 51, which is not enough for a striker, and only 1 goal in his last 30 games. He got a couple last night, which suggests maybe better things are on the way. But as you're saying, Lee, another goal scorer alongside him, you wonder if we've got one in the club at the moment. It doesn't look like it.
Dave, you will, I think it's probably a little bit for Jake's sort of time, but I liken him to, not in terms of stature, but in terms of his desire and the relentlessness of what he does for the team, is Rob Howarth. You know, he that effort he puts in, the running through the brick walls, not necessarily a brilliant goal return, but in terms of what he brings, that selflessness that he brings to the side. But as you say, for a striker, you got to start chipping in with some goals, because, you know, that is ultimately what you are judged on.
I think you're right. I think his value to the team was greater than his goals last season. No two ways about it. Rob, by the way, Rob Howarth, 200 games, 56 goals, which not a fantastic return, but 1 in 4. Well, better than 1 in 4. Not too bad.
No, not at all. But I echo in terms of Joe Neal that record last season, not great. I actually thought he looked better when he was either playing out wide or deeper behind the striker. And I just wonder if we might see him transition to that this season. But then if he does, again, that's a striker gone, isn't it, really? We need a true out-and-out striker that can back Sean up or play with Sean. And I don't see Mitchell Weiss as that, really, because, you know, so much of last season he spent out wide as well. So, you know, Mitchell and Zane Banton have really got to step up this season in terms of goal scoring, and so has Joe Neal. But Joe's got a lot to prove, and I'm sure he can. He is young, and I say Ian likes him. But if we're looking to push for a top 7 finish in a league that you'd argue is stronger this season, you need more than one out-and-out goal scorer, and I think no one can deny that.
We need more goals from midfield, not just the forwards as well, more from midfield. Zane Banton, front of goal, had a quieter season than you would expect, but no qualms about him being with us for another year.
No.
It was a safe bet, wasn't it? Because you know what you get with Zane. And although he's been at the club for a good number of years, he's dependable. And I don't think his level has dropped to the extent of like a Tom Bender has or David Noble has. His level's still quite high, and he's still quite productive. You look what happened, we've alluded to here, when you get just one striker up front. You're relying on Banton and Weiss. When Banton was injured, we struggled. When Weiss wasn't playing or out of form, we struggled. So, you know, that should tell you everything you need to know about the quality of those two players. Whether they're still going to fit in Ian's system, now he's, you know, packed in the midfield, remains to be seen. But that said, again, to have that sort of player on our books is excellent. And I think Banton's pretty much the same again, but hopefully I think he's going to kick on now in terms of goals as well.
Karen Wiltshire, he's certainly not a goal scoring midfielder. And he's another one I thought his form, particularly in the latter part of the season, tailed off quite sharply. But I should think we're all rejoiced that he's back at the park this season.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for Kyron, I think last season, I think he was blooming knackered. I mean, the amount of minutes he's played in a City shirt since signing is unbelievable. So I think that's probably one good thing about the strengthening of midfield. He actually might get to rest at some point. But yeah,
might get to rest. Would you say?
Rest.
Oh, to rest. Crikey.
Oh, Lee. It'd be good to get him more involved in goals, not necessarily, of course, scoring them, but maybe a few more assists and a bit more involved in the build-up play. Because I say someone's got to step up in place of Johnny Goddard, or several people have got to in central midfield, and they're all responsible. But yeah, it would be good to see goals scored. That's probably my only comment on the midfielders we have signed. None of them have particularly great records of goal scoring from midfield.
One player who's signed on for another season almost certainly raised eyebrows on the terraces, Liam Soule.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
Didn't expect that.
Who's he sleeping with? I don't know what's going on here. I mean, if that's the prerequisite now of getting a sort of sign for your hometown or for a club, then that's fantastic. I think he flatters to deceive, but he's deceived for far too long. And I don't know. I don't know whether Ian's sort of looked at him and think, well, you know what, Goddard's gone, we're going to put our interest into you now. But you talk about quality of delivery there, Tabs. You know the boy's got it. The boy's got talent. The boy's got skill, but
yeah,
he just applies it far too less than we need to see it.
He's got the ability to set this league alight, but his concentration, it just goes off. A number of times you see the ball roll under his feet and just go past him. He seems to switch off during games. He's got the speed to go at players. He can put a great cross in. He can strike a good shot. As you said, as Ian Allinson said himself, he's got everything, but Nottingham Forest couldn't get it out of him. And we've tried for twice now, 2 spells with us. We haven't got it out of him. It's almost like we're giving him a third-time lucky chance.
Yeah,
I think my concern on the whole, sorry, Jake, is the fact that we're re-signing the players that were relegation for half of the season. And I don't know whether it can't be availability because they are players, they are to a penny at this time of year. People are desperate for clubs. They want that, And as we say, if the players are around, we've got the money. That was quoted by the owners at the fans forum. Is it down to the fact that Ian hasn't got the ability to bring them in? He can't sell the club to these players? Is it this potential farcical sort of a recruitment plan that we've got in place now? Who knows? But ultimately, we're going to be judged by the players now who pull on that shirt. And the players that are pulling on the shirt, majority of them are the ones that almost got us, who gave us some of the worst 6 months worth of football in our entire history, really.
Yeah, I mean, I can only guess that Liam signed on more favourable terms from the club since last season. I presume he's not taking up much in the wages. But, even Ian said last night that he's hopeful that Liam will get more of a run in the team this season.
Well, bloody play him then.
Well, exactly. So we'll see. But like you said, Lee and Dave, I think for me, I just would have loved us to go out there and get an experienced winger at this level instead of relying on these players that haven't been able to step up for us. Someone like, I know it's a cliche name, but someone like Kale Da Costa, he signed to Chelmsford a few weeks ago. He probably might not be the quality player we truly want, but I mean, I'd argue goal and assist involvement was higher than Liam's last season. Just go out and get someone that can prove themselves at this level. And like Dave said, I think this is really last chance saloon for Liam. I think if he doesn't step up, he's got to go.
I cannot believe you mentioned Kale Da Costa. This is, we might as well get Frank McCormack back in or Steve Butler. You won't know who that is, but there was.
What about Craig McHale-Smith? I've heard of him.
Yeah, apparently too small to play for the club. Yeah, what happened to him? Anyway, non-league coaching. They're the best, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish Tony Turley was still alive. I'd go for him. Akinolia, Romeo, wherefore art thou? Well, thou is back at Clarence Park.
Jake's favourite player.
Hasn't played since February because of injury. Just funny enough, when his game, I felt, was starting to pick up and he was starting looking a little bit better. But I must admit, I'm surprised to see him back at the park. You too?
Yeah. I mean, it felt the way the article was worded in terms of, he's not fit in a minute. I wonder if it's a bit of loyalty for me. And, we know that Ian's very loyal to injured players that get injured at the club under his leadership. And I think that's totally understandable. So in that regard, I don't really have much of an issue with that signing. I wouldn't like to see a player left like that. But again, he's another one that truly, once he's fit, he's really got to start banging away with goals and assists straight away. Because otherwise, we're not going to get anywhere. I mean, Romeo, he wasn't too bad at times. And as you said, Dave, I think he started to improve, but he's another one that, is it really the quality we want if we want to be chasing for promotion? I don't know.
What about the defenders we've retained? Michael Clark, no problem there.
Nope.
The non-league Maldini, absolutely. Spot on.
Of course. Callum Adebayo.
Yeah, happy
with
that.
Big fan, yeah.
Oh, the next one's going to get a groan from one of the two of you, I know. Joy McKenna.
Go on, Lee. I think Lee was buzzing when he heard the announcement yesterday morning.
I want to make this very, very clear. It's nothing against Joy McKenna as the person. He's young. And I do believe, Jake will back me up, I said on our chat that I hope he's one of these players that could be coached and developed and really sort of pushed on, like Omar Beckles was, for example, that sort of quality of player. When you take 4 touches to control the ball, I can't tell you who it was. For a man that's sort of 7'2" or whatever it is, and he can't beat a defender, and he can't beat an attacker, his he ball watches far too much. You know, he's always got a mistake in him. Maybe I'm being ridiculously harsh, but you know, if there's a highlight package of his defending, he doesn't want to see it. That said, I think he put a really good partnership with Callum last year before the Forest Green game. Went on that run where we didn't concede in 12 games or whatever it was, something ridiculous now. But then the penny just dropped. You know, he was easy to play against. He struggled. He struggled big time. And all I would say is that Ian and Chris see something in him that they can work on and improve him as a player. And if that is the reason why, fantastic. And we welcome him. But I think his application and that his level is far, far short to where we need it to be.
Funny that, Lee. Jake, I remember, first time I saw him 2 years ago, it was a friendly away to Hendon, and I'm probably even a bit less complimentary than you were about him, Lee. But I thought he's actually hadn't done too badly at all, and with another year behind him, I'm hoping, much like yourself, he's going to come on, and I think he will prove to be a good acquisition or whatever you want to call it.
I hope so. I do genuinely hope so, but there's always a mistake in him, and they're always high profile, and it always looks very cumbersome. And obviously, with a man as tall as what he is, it's not going to look pretty anyway. And I think the fact that we have two quite tall centre halves, you know, this isn't the 1980s. We need someone now who's going to cover that mess, cover the mistakes. And at the minute, we haven't got that.
Goalkeeper Michael Johnson. We must have bought him a new towel because he's agreed to stay on, I believe. No complaints there?
No.
None at all.
No, of course not.
No. Last night at Harpenden, we had two trialists. I don't know if they're related, but they both had the same Christian name, Trialist A, Trialist B. You can't really form an opinion on them, can you, on that? But one was a goalkeeper, if anybody wasn't there. One was, I think, a sort of attacking midfielder, wasn't he?
Yeah, both looked all right. I think Ian mentioned that the one in midfield was more of a wide player. I think the one in midfield, speaking to a few people, had previously played for London Colney not long ago. So I think he's a bit of a London local lad. So I thought both were okay, weren't they? I think, you know, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, so many sides have full 11s of trialists at this time of year, but us, you know, just two. So you can't question the sort of balance in the squad in that regard. But yeah, both of them were fine. But I say neither of them really stood out either.
Well, I thought Ian was quite harsh on the fellas in his post-match because, you know, the ground was like concrete. It was the first game back, and it was a real muggy sort of day. Harpenden were well up for it, and you always knew that City had another level or two in them if they needed it. It was just a matter of sort of going through the process. And I thought he let the boys have it in the post-match, and I thought it was a little bit harsh because, you know, they were running. You know, there was no shortage of effort there. I think it was just about sort of getting back into the swing of things, getting that blood back into your legs, and things will progress from there. But it was a good side. And as Dave said, you can't really judge anyone on one game against Harpenden Town.
It's funny, wasn't it? When we were 1-0 down, Jack Tabor put Harpenden ahead. It was a time when they were having a really good spell, and they had us under pressure. And Liam Gautier made one excellent save. But after that, we had all the chances. And their goalkeeper, Alex Desmond, he had a day to remember. It was only a friendly before Mitch got those two late goals. So as we say, hopefully that will kick Mitch off, and we're going to see a bit more.
It's 2-0, wasn't it?
Go.
Oh, right.
They're often mistaken for each other, Lee.
I'll tell you what,
last season.
Mitch, I don't know what he's done. I don't know whether there's like a shortage of just for men. There was like a silver streak going through his hair. Maybe the summer's been particularly unkind to Mitch, but there was definitely a Dave Tavener-esque sort of, you know, tint to his hair.
Give it 6 more months and he'll be club historian.
Yeah. For those people who aren't quite aware, Dave is actually 72.
Yeah, really?
Some might say that's what St Albans City does to you, but, you know, couldn't possibly comment.
No, you can't, Joe.
Well, the state of you two, look at you, look.
I'm going to have to go on to lager if that's what it does to you, Lee. You look much better on it than I do. Right, we have another game on Saturday. Stevenage down the park. Kick-off has been moved from, it's already an early one, 2 o'clock, now been moved to 1 o'clock. So get there early to avoid disappointment. I'd imagine we look forward to this with the same enthusiasm we look forward to any friendly, don't we?
I've been more enthused about Stevenage games, Dave, if I'm honest. Why has the kickoff been moved forward? Does it give people more time to steal stuff in Stevenage after the game?
Apparently, it's due to the heat. So get it a bit earlier before it gets too hot.
So is it colder in Stevenage now than what it is in St Albans?
I looked it up. The temperature change during the time of game from a normal kickoff is 1 degree. So that is going to make a big difference. Interesting. The Arsenal under-23 match for the start of August has been called off. So that means we've only got 6 friendlies. Going into last season, Lee, I think we had about 10 or 11, wasn't it? And you felt those number of games were good for us. We really hit the ground running because of a number of games we'd had. I thought it was far too many as usual. So what do you think this season? It's only now having 6. Will we be undercooked?
Possibly, but it's not of our own doing. So, I'm not going to slam the club too much. Arsenal have thrown us under the bus there. But what I would say is that there were times when you and I used to go down there, Dave, and we'd be playing the Arsenal first team quite regularly. How the football pyramid has changed. It's not our doing, mate. I mean, and I'm sure they might arrange a friendly match in that time. I don't think there's going to be a Saturday where they won't do anything, even if it might just be some training on the pitch. The lads won't be going without.
Well, they might want to get a game because the last time we had just 6 friendlies, we were relegated.
Oh, great.
That's the spirit. We agreed here. We're going to be positive today.
Cheers, Dave.
Yes. Just stating facts.
And you do it so well, Dave.
A couple of our old players have been moving around in the summer. You've probably spotted a lot more than I have. James Comley's gone from Bournemouth to Barnet. Ini Effiong has gone north a little bit, up to Ayr United. He obviously likes the cold weather. And Jimmy Gray, who along with Graham Gould was the manager who got us into National League South, where we are now, from the Southern League, as the manager of a new club, Caddington AFC, which is somewhere near Luton, I expect. You caught any others during the summer?
Well, I would say that Comley's gone to Dulwich, not Barnet, like you said.
Hasn't he?
And
you're right, he has gone to Dulwich. Yeah.
David Long King has joined the Digger Daggers.
Yeah, good old Dagenham.
He's joined Dagenham, yeah.
And I think the real surprise one is Solomon and Wabuki is now in the Football League with a club called Barrow, which I believe is somewhere far up north. So good luck up there, Solomon.
Mate,
we've been there. We've been there.
Have we?
We wore the very famous tangerine and charcoal quartered shirt. It's not a place you want to return. So to go, I mean, for him to sort of want to go play there 24 times a year, brave. Very, very, very brave.
After the game, that one at Barrow, I was interviewing Jimmy Neighbour, and things were going against us at that time. And poor old Jimmy, he was getting a bit down. And we had played well. We lost 2-1, but we had played well. And
Harrow scored.
As always. And some Barrow supporters shouted down outside the dressing room where we were, said, "You were the better side, you should have won." And it didn't lift Jimmy's spirit at all. And unfortunately, he got kicked out not much longer after that. There we go. Now, getting to games is going to be very expensive this season because of the cost of fuel and whatnot. So no doubt, Jake, you can bring us up to date of a trust running to supporters coaches to every single game next season.
Well, this wasn't on the running order, but yes, I think the trust.
Have a running order?
The trust is planning to hopefully get coaches to the away trips that will be a bit more difficult to get to for next season. I haven't seen any plans since the fixtures were released. I think it was last Wednesday, was it? So a week ago. But yeah, there is plans afoot to hopefully try and get that organised for those longer away days. So I think that's
Jake, at £10 a gallon, every game is difficult to get to. For goodness sake, don't restrict it to just what those are lot more than 35 miles away or whatever.
David.
I don't drive, Dave. Can't tell you.
Yes, you can drive.
I've seen his driving
test
as well. Don't listen. No one talks about driving between any of you two now.
Talking of driving, our first game next season, of course, is away to Chelmsford City. We've got happy memories of that, haven't we, Jake, coming back last season? And this is a poster of when we played Chelmsford on the 6th of March, 19 something or other. Did you go to that one, Jake? Dave Centurion played, a City supporter, played for Saints supporters. It was the Leeds and Floodlit Cup tie, and he scored.
He was a good player, though, mind. You know,
Not bad, was he?
When he played in the Saints supporters team with Lawrence and Paul and Greg and James Brew and all of those, yeah, they had a good side there, boys.
Well, of course, a lot of those played for the reserve team. Have we got any news what's happening to our academy team, youth team, reserve team, B team? We'll call it any what
Hendon,
like
if you want to call it, mate. Call it its proper name, Hendon.
Weren't they moving up a division? I think that was chat, wasn't it? At the end of last year, they're moving up a division to men's football. So, but no, nothing over summer. I think we have to say that off the pitch, apart from the sort of ticket prices, there's actually not been much news out of the club, really, has there? Sort of off the pitch, what's going on?
No,
it's been pitiful.
You say that with
pitiful.
Such sincerity as well, Jacob.
Well, as I said, on the front of a website, it's just stats of 5 players. All right, 2 of them are wrong, but don't worry about that.
Start the seasons we mean to go on.
Hi, Andy.
What about Clarence Park? Well, last couple of seasons, we've seen Clarence Park change beyond recognition with these temporary stands, now coming up for their second year, of course, temporary stands, and satellite units for burger bar, booze bars, and shake it anything you want bar. And now it might not be called Clarence Park much longer.
Well, no, so the Trust sent out a summer newsletter, I think at the end of last month or towards the end of last month, and saying that clubs agreed a naming right still. The Trust has asked that Clarence Park still be part of the name. But yeah, that was the last we'd heard from the Trust, really, or the Trust has put out and what the Trust has heard from the club. So there will be naming rights. We don't know what. So we eagerly await, I guess, to see what that is. But as you say, Dave, I think, it's going to be Clarence Park, isn't it, to all of us and most fans? It's in Clarence Park. You can't change that. And the Trust wants Clarence Park to be part of the name. But, it's all about the money these days, isn't it?
What I would say is that it's absolutely not going to be the Ember Designs Clarence Park Arena anytime soon, boys.
The Podful of Saints Arena?
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Well, whatever it is, it's more coffers in our already swollen coffers, isn't it? Because we must be one of the richest clubs in National League South.
It's ludicrous, the fact that the club have named something they don't actually own. But I think, Jake, you've sort of spoken to the inner circle, and it's just going to be more for aesthetics and the fact that they can sort of promote it from within. The Covenant on the ground and the Protect Clarence Park Mafia are against anything like that. They are against any commercialisation. So they can't have signage on the outside of the ground. They can't. The only thing they can sort of do is have signage on the inside of the ground, refer to it as such, whatever it's going to be, and have it in their club literature. But look, if the club are going to get a few quid out of it, is it really the worst thing in the world? It's not the worst thing they've done in the last 2 years. So it's not, to be honest with you, it's just the way that they're going to go now. So fine.
It's just like all the other away grounds we go to. So many of those now have got the sponsors' name in the name, but we always refer to the grounds by their proper name because that's what long-time supporters do. Fresh-faced ones might take it in and call it the Joe Bloggs Clarence Park or whatever. Of course, Clarence Park, by the way, it was given to the people of St Albans by Sir John Blundell Maple, July 1894, and he was told when he put the park in, he had to put a joining road from Clarence Road, to Sandpit Lane at the other end. So he paid for that road to go in there, and it was originally called Clarence Park Road. And I wish I'd left it as that. I think that's much better than just calling it that road Clarence Park. Anyway, I don't think we put that to the vote.
But as Lee said, it's not the worst thing in the world, but they'll also be very aware that it's not going to go down well with us older fans, is it? But at the end of the day,
they don't give a shit, mate. Trust me, they don't give a.
It's only a name change, and as I say, it's all about money. So that's what football is.
Right. And money is one thing a Podful of Saints knows nothing about. Right,
because we haven't got any.
I don't think we're going to do this weekly, are we? During the friendlies.
I don't think anyone's quite ready for that, are they? Really?
No, we do one on the end of eve of the season to round up all the friendlies. So you've escaped us for a while. So Saturday then, 1 o'clock kick-off home to Stevenage, whatever they call themselves nowadays. Following Tuesday, Enfield Town, which is somewhere over there. And then we've probably got a home game somewhere along the way.
Barnet at some point.
I must say, you are up to date with all of the latest fixture news, David, considering you're the club historian.
Yeah, well, that's forward. I don't do history. I don't do what's forthcoming.
Good. Proactive.
Oh,
Good.
bodes well, doesn't it?
What I would say, in the pretense that you have any questions for us, don't hesitate to get in touch. Email us, phone us, carry a pigeon, throw stuff at us, shout at us at games. Jake, do you want to give them the Twitter handle, my friend?
Yeah, at a Podful of Saints. If you do want to do any of that, especially the abusive bit, we love that. I suppose we say thank you everyone again for bizarrely watching this and listening to our views. I think last season, I think exceeded all our expectations, the amount of people that,
And the clubs.
yeah, that watched and engaged and listened to us. So I think thank you from all of us as always.
Well, it was nice last night. A few people asking when we're doing the next one.
I know, these sad people.
They were
I think
obviously
they said,
juiced.
Well, I think they said when and not why.
I mean, you know, these people don't have much going on, do they? So
No. Right, well, I'm going to put my dinner
On that note.
Right, I'll see you down the park Saturday, yeah.
Take care, everyone. Take care.
thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.